Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How's everyone doing? Today is Monday, July 17th, and I was just before I went live, I thought I'm not going to do any live demos because they always go wrong, and I never represent things how I want, and there's too much stuff to deal with. But then I suddenly thought, no, I haven't showed this guitar yet. I need to give people a demo of it because they'll wonder why I haven't shown it. And some people have been messaging me about the guitar as well to ask about, a lot of people are interested in buying these. They're really hard to find at the moment, but hopefully that will change. So let me know in the chat if you've got any questions about this guitar. I want to just show you what it does quickly, and then we're going to move on to the regular show. But I just want to show what this does quickly in this video, so at least people have some kind of reference of what this thing is. Alright, so I'll just talk through it all, and I'll tell you how I've got it set up, because obviously the way you set this up will affect a lot of things, and maybe some people won't want this because some people will say, well, there's too much to play around with. I don't want that much control from my guitar. And if that's the case, there's other guitars without all the electronic stuff. I'm gonna give you a quick 5-minute presentation of the guitar, just for those that are interested, and then I'm going to go back to the regular show. Okay, so this is the Cole Clark thin line. And this is the version with the magnetic pickups. So what Cole Clark did was, first of all, they released the new version of the pickup system, which you can see on the top here. This is their acoustic pickup. So this is my favorite pickup at the moment. I'm absolutely just in love with it. Every time I finish, this isn't a sales pitch. This isn't a sponsored video. Every time I finish a gig, I'm just blown away with this pickup system. Absolutely incredible. So you've got your blend between a top sensor, which is the selling point for me, and the undersaddle. You can blend between the two. And then you've got a mic you can blend in, which is just up here in the preamp. I don't use that very often, but it's there if you want to play around with that. And then you've got treble, middle, and bass. So you've got 3 pickups and 3 EQs. I kind of see that more as like 6 EQs in a way, because the pickups affect the sound of the guitar. And you've got your master volume and an FC button. I always leave the FC button out, which is their newest mode. I like that mode. So that's all the acoustic sounds. Now there's no sound hole. The thin line. Let me just backpedal a bit. After they updated the preamp for the pickups, they then introduced a thin line acoustic, which is basically this guitar. This is their thin line. So what this means is you get that thinner body, so it's much more comfortable to play on stage or on the couch. And the thin line guitar has a sound hole. It's just like a regular acoustic, but thinner. With this guitar, because we've got the magnetics in here, they're using more of just more like a sound port. I don't think they need this at all. I think they maybe should have just left this off the guitar and just had it as an actual electric guitar. But there we go. It's like a semi-hollow, semi-acoustic type guitar. And then that gives you all the electronic options. So if you don't want the electronic options, you can buy the Cole Clark thin line, which is this guitar without the electric stuff, right? If you want the electric stuff, you're going to pay more money, you're going to get more weight on the guitar, but you're going to get the electric pickups. This one is single humbucker. You can get humbucker, or single. The amazing thing with this is that they've treated these pickups themselves to be balanced with the acoustic strings. Because I did buy a Cole Clark with just the humbucker a couple of years ago, and I returned it because the B and the E string were louder than the others, because the B and the E string on acoustic strings are not wound like the lower strings are. You can see they're thick and gold. Well, these 2 high strings were way too loud when I tried one before. But what they're doing now at Cole Clark is they've got a machine that will actually allow them to adjust the sensitivity of each of these pole pieces in each pickup, and they're balancing the pickups for the acoustic strings. So I haven't found that to be a problem with things like the Acoustasonic. I guess they're doing their own way of that with DSP or something. This is not DSP. This is all analog. So they've got a way of adjusting the volume of each pole piece, which I think is absolutely awesome and really clever. And that's fixed that problem for me. Then you get your switch, which allows you to switch between acoustic, electric, or a blend of the two. Actually, I might have got that wrong. Yeah, that's how you figure it out, you see. The acoustic pickup is so sensitive that when you tap on it, you hear that body sound, which I absolutely love about the pickup system. So that's the acoustic sound. And then towards me is the electric sounds. I guess you remember that by thinking it's next to the volume and tone controls there. Sounds very authentic. I've compared this to my Stratocaster, and it's like 95% the same, which is amazing when you think it's acoustic strings. By the way, these strings are 10 gauge. They do sound a little thin on the acoustic sounds compared to, say, 12s, but they then allow you to do all the bending, and they allow you to get the electric sounds. I don't like playing these kind of guitars with 12s or 11s. To me, they then sound a bit too acoustic. That's the trade-off. The only trade-off for me, really, is that I want these 10s for the electric sounds, and I would rather have 12s for the acoustic sounds. Having said that, it's more of a feel thing. I think through the PA, if you dial it in, it actually sounds very similar to my other Cole Clark, so that's not a problem. Then in the middle, you've got both sounds. So another way to do this is to just leave it in the middle and turn down the electric volume sound, the volume here, and then you can just blend that in. So I've set my acoustic how I like it. I've got a little bit of buzz. I have tightened the truss rod a bit too much. I was just trying to get the action as low as possible because I'm using this for practicing a lot. But I can back that off when I'm done here. But that's the acoustic sound. And then what I like to do is just to blend in with the volume here to where I want it. So it almost gives you a brand new sound. What you get is you get that percussive warmth of the acoustic strings, that jangly acoustic sound, and then you get this sort of edge of the electric sound. Well, I just love the way you can blend that in and create your own sound with any of the pickups. So you might want a slightly warmer electric sound, blend that in, and you basically get a brand new sound. And then you can turn the tone down as well if you want on that electric. So what I would do almost is I would almost dial that in like I just did and just use that as my sound. I think it's kind of cool because when you then go back to just the acoustic sound, it sounds a bit kind of hollow, which acoustics are meant to, obviously. But with the blend of the two, you just get this new sound. You get this acoustic electric hybrid rhythm sound, which I think is really interesting. It adds that articulation on the high notes on the treble. And you can always bring it back if it's too much. So what you've then got is this new sound that's using basically, this is so funny, it's basically using 6 pickups, right? Hey S, if that's your opinion, that's fine. I think you're just being silly, but you know, we're all entitled to our opinions. So you can add the two together to create your own sound, which I think is really cool because you get a brand new sound that you wouldn't normally get. And then what you can do is, if you've got the 2 output jacks on the bottom. So red is the electric sound and black is the acoustic sound. And then what you can do is you can plug those 2 into the PA and pan them and treat them separately, the PA as well. So you'd have the two signals going separately. So if you did it in stereo, what you could actually do is have the acoustic sound, the electric sound with the stereo delay and reverb in the stereo PA, and the acoustic sound down the middle. I don't think I'm doing that right now. But what you could then have is like ambient sounds from the left and right sound of the PA of the stage, and you could have the acoustic sound more kind of dry down the middle. So I just think that's amazing. The possibilities are endless. Like I said at the start, I think that might mean that some people will say, well, there's too many possibilities. Well, you don't have to use both of them. You can just put it on the acoustic sound and just dial that in. And just use that if you want to. Yep, I think I've just... So that's just the acoustic tones. You could just use that. And like I said, I think the great thing that they've done is that they've made the thin line guitar and the hybrid guitar. So if the electric stuff doesn't interest you, I think there's a lot of acoustic players that just want a great sounding acoustic on stage. They don't care about electric stuff. So you can just buy the thin line, which is going to be cheaper and also lighter. And then you can have... Well, I guess on the thin line, you could then put 12 gauge strings on it. By the way, on this guitar, you can put 11 gauge strings on. You can put 12 gauge strings on. The only thing you can't do is change the G to an unwound G. That will mess up the way they've set up the pickups at the factory. But you can put 12 gauge acoustic strings on this if you want a fatter sound. Because that's my only complaint, really. When you use 10 gauge strings on acoustic, you lose that fatness that you get from 12s, obviously. But you're able then to bend. You get that very snappy sound, hear that? Which you may like, you may not, I don't know. It's just different. Yeah, that's right, Zach said wet, dry, wet. You could do a wet, dry, wet guitar sound. You know, I think that'd be amazing for like a solo gig if you had that kind of sound. You're going to have to dial it in just right, but if you had that sound and then you had something like a kick drum pedal or something to add the low end, that would be awesome. By the way, I think I have cut, yeah, have I cut the low end? Yeah, I'm just going to turn this off. I've got a high pass filter on the acoustic sound, which is going to make it sound a bit thin. So let me just take that off. There we go. You hear that sub bass now? Yeah, so. So the reason that I love the Cole Clark plugged-in sound so much is because, like Dr. McFarlane said, it does sound very, very natural. It sounds... I'm not going to say it sounds like a mic'd acoustic, but it sounds natural, but it still has the edge and the grit. That's why I love it. You know, it still has the edge and the grit that I'm looking for, but with the mic kind of quality. And that's not even with the mic really turned on the preamp. I've got that at 50%, I guess, but even if I turn that mic off, you know, that's the proof that an acoustic guitar pickup doesn't need impulse responses, doesn't need microphones. A really good analog pickup can make it, can make for a natural sound if you do it right. So this is just so natural, but so punchy. That's why I love it. Very punchy. And then if you want to, you can take the mids down, you can put more bass in, you can have some... Yeah, so what I do is, when I get something like this, I just fiddle with it until I get the sound that I really like for that guitar, and then I just stick with it. Pretty much all the time. And then I've actually turned the treble down. So it also makes me realize, because I wanted to try more Cole Clarks to see what the deal was. On my other Cole Clark that I use for my solo gigs, I've used it for over a year now, I turn the bass down and the mids down all the time. On this guitar, I've actually turned the treble down. So the pickup in the guitar is really reflecting the sound of the box. But, you know, considering that's 10 gauge, I mean, 10 gauge strings, I think that sounds pretty darn good. If you really want to compromise, I'd put 11s on. But I think for the electric stuff, the thin strings are going to sound better. Because I like 10s on electric. I would not use 9s, but you could try it. See, I actually think the electric sound of this... Hey, Will, I really appreciate it, man. I'm almost at 15k, so thank you. I'm hoping to get there soon. I actually think the electric sound of this guitar is really convincing. It's kind of crazy. If I had the screen turned off, even the buzz, which actually I was going to say, maybe they should use noise as pickups, but that can be controversial. If I turned this camera off right now and played like this, I think you'd think I was playing a Strat. I really do. You see, it's now you've seen it, you're going to say, no, I wouldn't. It doesn't sound like a Strat. I'm telling you. I've compared it. I've recorded my Strat and this back to back, and they sound so close. So, yeah, especially if you're playing jazz or something, or blues. Amazing. Hey Lee, what's up? And I think the reason that I think the reason I like electric sounds so much is because they're 10 gauge acoustic strings. I'm guessing if they were 12 gauge, I wouldn't like electric sounds as much because I wouldn't be able to bend and they wouldn't have that snappy tone to them. For me, that's what an electric guitar should sound like. But then on the acoustic side, I like my acoustic guitars to have 12 gauge strings. So, you know, there we go. That's the trade-off that only you can decide. You just got that slight snappy. You don't get that snappiness on 12s. Right? But, you know, like I said, that's the trade-off. That's the only trade-off that I really see. And then both sounds together. Yeah, it's really fun. It's really fun. And so like I said, I would recommend, if you're not into electric guitar at all, because I have got this, remember, this is not in the box. I'm plugging the electric stuff here through the quad cortex. So that's another expense, right? You've got to have an amp or a pedal for it. So if you're into electric and acoustic like I am, these are definitely worth checking out. This is some of the best hybrid sounds I've ever heard. And it's a really cool guitar as well. And it's pretty affordable. I think that these are like 3,500, just under. So pretty affordable compared to some other options. Not as affordable as an imported Acoustasonic, and they are really cool too. But this is a different beast, you know, with the three pickups in there, and the way you've got your control over everything. I think this is a different beast to the Acoustasonic, in my opinion. I probably will compare them at some point. But yeah, like I said, if you're performing on stage, the thin line acoustic, and if you're playing in a band or you want to do the hybrid thing, then the hybrid guitar. I think they're absolutely killing it. You know, again, I said this last week about the big three in America. Like, where are the thin line guitars? I guess Martin's thin line would be the SC. I guess Taylor's thin line would be the T5. I don't know if Gibson have a thin line. But the fact that they're thinking about this for stage players now, you know, we've got a thin line guitar. It's comfortable to play. It's plecked from the factory. And they're giving us things like a three-way pickup and the option of electric pickups. I just think it's awesome. And someone said, are they their own pickups? I'm not sure who makes the pickups, actually. I need to ask them that. They used to use a Lola Imperial. I don't think these are Lolas. I'm guessing they want to move on to their own pickups. They sound fine. I haven't compared them to many other pickups yet, but you'll notice there's no adjustment pieces in each pole. That's because they set that at the factory. So, Yeah, but I think the electric sounds are great. And also, I forgot to tell you, if you pull out the tone control, it splits the humbucker. And you've then got a single, more of a single coil humbucker sound. Mute my mic, because the only problem when you do these live streams is the acoustic sound bleeds into the microphone. So you could hear that, right? When I pressed it in and got the humbucker, it got fatter sounding. So again, if you want that fat sound, if you can use distortion, you want the fat sound, you would do that. Here's some distortion. Just put a little bit on here. So you really want that humbucker for this sound. Again, mute the microphone. I want to point this out because I've seen other reviews and demos of this guitar, and I should have said this at the start of the video. When the presenter doesn't mute their microphone, it makes it sound a bit bad. Try not to swear. Because what happens is the acoustic sound, there's obviously still some acoustic sound from this guitar. Actually sounds very nice, very sweet sounding, but quiet. But if that quiet sound bleeds into the vocal mic, I mean, I'm using my headset mic. So there's not much bleed, but there's still some bleed. And if you put in headphones and listen to what I'm doing and you get that bleed, it sounds a bit wonky. So when I mute the microphone, it does sound better and more direct and how it should sound. And that's the other problem when you play in the room with a guitar like this. You're going to hear some of the acoustic sound coming back at you. So you might think to yourself, it doesn't sound like an electric guitar. That's because you're hearing some of the acoustic sound come back at you. On a stage, when you're playing in the band, you're not going to hear that, and it's going to sound awesome. Let me just demo that, because I think it's a really important point for these videos. All right, so let me just play a few chords with the headset mic turned on, and then I'm going to mute the headset mic. All right, so it's turned on at the moment, so listen to this. Now I'm going to mute it. I really think that when I don't turn the mic off, it ruins it, because what happens is you hear almost like the rattle's the wrong word. You hear the acoustic guitar strings kind of. I have to say rattle. I can't think what the word is. You hear the rattling of the acoustic guitar strings with the electric sound, and you think, well, why is that? Is this a problem with the guitar? All right, so bear that in mind. I noticed that on some other demos of this guitar, and when I actually do my proper review of this guitar, I'll take that out, because let me just show you again. I really hear it. I should have thought about that earlier on. I apologize. So listen again. With the mic turned on, you're basically hearing all this. So you're basically hearing this sound. Let me just mute that. Look, you're hearing this. You can hear that, right? That's the acoustic sound of the guitar coming through my headset. My headset has got a noise gate on it, which is messing with that sound further. But that noise is bleeding into what I'm demoing to you. You don't want that. When I mute it, right, so when I mute it, you're only hearing the sound of the electric guitar. That's what you want. So again, this is with the mic on. And this is with the mic off. Yeah, so bear that in mind. And everything I played at the start of this video and the intro before I started talking was with the mic off. So that's the true sound of the guitar. Just bear that in mind. If you see them demo one of these guitars and they've got their mic on, it's going to mess with the sound a bit. So I can't just sit here and talk and play, because that's not what it's going to sound like through the PA system at a gig. Because you're not going to hear any of the acoustic sound. So again, I mute the mic. Yeah, so actually I'm glad I did this live stream now, because I can remember that when I do my video later, to or whenever I do it, to mute the microphone when doing that. It's really, really, really important, because you don't want to hear that percussiveness of the acoustic coming through the electric sounds. Anyway, let me switch back to my regular rig, and let's do the rest of the session Q&A, and we'll talk about the guitar if you want to.
I need a holiday is what you said to me. I need to get away from you. And as I watched her lying next to me, I wished for a holiday too.
All right, awesome. Yeah, so sorry that was a longer demo than I was meant to do. I thought I would just show you a guitar while you're waiting for the stream to start. But then there's so much to show with that guitar, all different sounds, and yeah, obviously that guitar really depends on the strings you decide to use on it, the way you decide to dial it in, and then even on the electric side, it depends on what amp you use and how you set the amp on that pedal. And you know, I keep saying it, but I feel like a lot of acoustic players play the acoustic guitar because they just want to plug in and go with one sound, and that's what I normally do. I get one great sound on my Cole Clark, I plug in and I play. I don't really adjust it. Adding all electric sounds does give you more chance of tweaking. Some people like that, some people don't. Some people are more inclined to tweak than others. But I think I got some great sounds out of it there. And yeah, I just see so many people now doing the solo shows, and I think people are looking for different ways to express themselves with different sounds and things. And it's really cool. But like I said, also consider just getting a standard Cole Clark, because then you're going to get a lighter guitar as well. If you're not going to use the electric stuff, then just get the standard thin line Cole Clark, or the Angel, or the FL2, whatever. But great guitar for people that want it. So, Prodigal Nation, good to see you. We got Nola in the house. David Belcher, Zane. A carbon fiber Cole Clark. Maybe, but I really like... You see, the woods that's made from are Australian blackwood, and it's very hard. It's a very hard wood. So I'm not as worried with that. It's not like a fragile wood like spruce and, you know, Sitka spruce and that can crack. It's pretty hard for that Australian blackwood to crack. Because it is a very hard wood. That's why they use it. So I'm not as worried about the elements. Obviously, they still affect it more than a carbon guitar, but I think it's a good sort of middle ground. Patsy and Chazza. Jasper, what happened to acoustic? It is acoustic, Jasper. It's a hybrid. Lovely looking and sounding guitar. Is it better than the Acoustasonic? The thing is, you can buy a used import Acoustasonic now for like $500 on the used market. So, and I also did briefly compare them. I think the Acoustasonic does hold its own, but they're very different. The Acoustasonic is more affordable. It's thinner. The Cole Clark is thicker, but the Cole Clark has analog pickups where the Acoustasonic uses DSP. Acoustasonic, you've got to charge it up. And it's less flexible, it's less electric pickups. I think they're almost different beasts, I want to say. I think the Cole Clark is more for the player that wants the analog pickups where they can then plug it into their own electric system. I think that's what that's for. Where the Acoustasonic is more for the player that wants to plug into a PA system and go with no pedals or anything. I mean, you can use pedals with it, but with the Cole Clark, you kind of need to use a pedal with it for the electric sounds because it doesn't have anything built into it for that. Doc McFarlane's here. Graham Campbell. So people like the look of the Cole Clark. I do too, and I'm someone that came from a very traditional background of liking the look of the regular standard series Martin guitars, but the unique look of the Cole Clarks has really grown on me, I have to say, and they all do really look completely different. Because the woods they're using are mostly like sustainable woods that are locally grown, and they're able to, well, that does mean they all look very different. This one has a nice dark fretboard that I love. My regular acoustic Angel does not have that, which annoys me a little bit, but then again, it still sounds great. It's just that they look very different. Doctor said, sounds like an amplified acoustic. It is a very natural sounding acoustic sound, without being too distant, like some of the IR stuff is. It's really cool. And it's even better. It's even better through the PA system. But the great thing about the Cole Clark is I'm using it with my in-ear monitors and still enjoying the gig, which is kind of unheard of for many acoustic guitars. I think the only system that got me close to that was either some kind of impulse response sound or the Anthem. Kevin Hayden, man. Prodigal Nation. Thank you. Rosanna, good to see you. Yeah, S, like I said, we're all entitled to our opinion. That's fine. If you're here for acoustic guitar. Like I said earlier on, if you're here for acoustic guitars and I play a hybrid with distorted sounds and that, you're not going to like it. I get that. But I think the market is opening up more now. I keep saying on the channel, I want to see guitar companies do more innovative things. How many Stratocaster copies do we need, people? How many D28 copies? I mean, even Martin copied the D28. How many do we need? Give us something new. Cole Clark, keep trying new things, and I think that should be praised. And like I said, if you don't want to use distorted sounds, if you're not into electric guitars, I know a lot of acoustic players are not, you can still buy an acoustic Cole Clark. So you have the choice. Graham, that's a great question. Zane, yeah, that's the thing, Zane. So if you were to loop the acoustic sounds while you're singing it, and then take the solo with the electric sounds, it's just going to sound awesome. I'm not sure who makes the pickups. I'm going to ask Cole Clark. Let's just see if I've got that here. Oh, my Fiverr review is done. I'm working on a top secret project, people. It's not too secret because I did post about it on Facebook briefly. But I'm hoping the new project I'm working on is actually links into this solo thing as well. I think it could work really well with that guitar, which is interesting. Interesting for me, maybe not you. So, Graham, I don't know the answer to that. I think they are, but I have to confirm. Lee, hope you're well. Zane says Chuck Berry would love Chuck Berry would love this guitar. Chuck Berry. Jay Fain, awesome guitar, really takes hybrid guitars to a different level compared to the Acoustasonic. Yeah, I don't want to say it's better than the Acoustasonic. I don't think, I mean, the Acoustasonic has DSP built in and a rechargeable battery. That's really cool. The Acoustasonic is thinner and therefore you could argue more comfortable on stage. The Acoustasonic is more affordable. So there's many things about the Acoustasonic that are very good. But I like the Cole Clark acoustic system, and I like being able to run the magnetic pickups through the pedal of my choice. You can do that with the Acoustasonic, but it's already got processing on it. I don't want that processing on it. I have heard rumors that there's a new Acoustasonic coming in a few months' time. But that's a very, very loose rumor, and I don't know if that means another affordable Acoustasonic to sell for the holidays, or a new Acoustasonic with new features. That's what I want to see. I want to see an Acoustasonic that then would rival the hybrid behind me. You know, maybe a way to turn off those sounds, improve those sounds, improve on the design. Frank, that is a Cole Clark Thin Line 2. Well, David's got it. A Cole Clark Thin Line 2 electric cutaway, Blackwood. That means Blackwood back and sides and Blackwood top. HSS is the electric pickup configuration. So it's the name they call it is a true hybrid. Yeah, true hybrid. So it's a Cole Clark true hybrid. They're really hard to find. I don't know if they're anywhere apart from Australia very much at the moment. So I know a lot of people are wanting them. And that's why I wanted one too, but I wanted to try it. I really was keen to see if it did deliver, and I'm very happy with that. So I think that was basically my review, and I will make a proper review of it. So please subscribe and ring the bell. But that basically is my review. They've done a great job. No hybrid guitar can ever be as good as the best Strat you own and the best Cole Clark acoustic that you own. No hybrid can do that because there's always going to be some trade-off. They've tried to meet all the trade-offs that they can, but you know, if you decide that you want 10s on the electric and 12s on the acoustic, well, obviously you can't do that. You can try 11s, but if you want 10s on the electric and 12s on the acoustic, that's one trade-off that you're not going to beat. But the way that they've done the pickups, I think there is no compromise there. The electric pickups sound incredibly... Well, they basically sound the same as my Strat. The acoustic pickup sounds the same as my Cole Clark, except that the strings are obviously 10s, and you can kind of hear that they're a bit thinner sounding. But otherwise, I think that it is a true hybrid, like they say, which is really cool. So Jay Fain, very cool demo. Thank you. Which Cole Clark acoustic do you play and prefer? Well, I do. I have my favorites. I'm trying to play more and more because they're so hard to find. I've now owned and played the FL2, which is their Dreadnought colorway. I've owned and played the Angel. So I moved to an Angel 2. That's the smaller body because I preferred the smaller body. And I gigged that for over 12 months. Incredibly happy with it. Great guitar. But these thin line guitars, I prefer in a way even more because then they're even more comfortable on stage. And So if I was going to recommend one to you now, I'd probably say get the, like I said earlier, the thin line acoustic if you don't care about electric stuff at all. The thin line acoustic Blackwood. The true hybrid, this one, if you want those electric sounds and want to be unique. And then if you like bass and boominess, you could check out the FL2 and the Angel 2. I don't know, I don't, whenever I don't have that, I don't really miss it. I think some guitars are just too big, actually. You know, almost, the Angel's almost, compared to this body, is almost too fat. So I think they're doing a really good thing with this. I think the stage guitar element aspect of all this is great. Make the guitars thin, make them comfortable, make them sound great plugged in, make them easy to play, and have a great gig, rather than taking your vintage Martin Dreadnought and trying to make it sound good and struggling with it on stage with the 13 gauge strings and the K&K pickup feeding back on you and all this. What these guitars do for me is they take all that out of it. They take all that out of the equation, and I can just enjoy the gig rather than worry about any sort of problems. And that's why I've become such a huge fan lately. So the acoustic version would be called the Thin Line Blackwood, and the price is I think you're looking at like $750. It is substantial because the true hybrid, like I said, it has the humbucker, the single, or whichever combination of pickups you want. It has all the electric stuff in it. It's a newer design. You are going to pay more for it. David says it sounds like they make the pickups themselves on their website. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, what company doesn't want to make their own, because then they haven't got to pay someone else, right? But the fact that they're also then magnetizing them themselves. I don't know. Do they hand wire those pickups at the factory and build them, or do they buy them like licensed from someone else? That's the question I don't know. BMO says, I really like the Thin Line 2. Oh, okay, let me go on the website. We'll do a quick talk through. I almost feel bad talking about them because you can't really buy them at the moment. There's none. I'm looking at them all the time in America. They come through so rarely at the moment. And be careful buying a used one if it's got the older pickup system, because I like the newer pickup system. Okay, so the FL2 was the first one I had. I bought it used from a friend. See if I can get on the desktop here. Yeah, so I had one of these first of all, and I was really impressed with it. I've got a demo of it on the channel, the pickup system. The BLBL, this one here. Okay, so I've got a demo of this guitar with the older pickup system on the channel. And I was really, really impressed. I still think this sounds the absolute best plugged in, because the bigger body does give some sort of richness to the tone that the others don't quite get. I'm talking 5% here. But that, for me, was the absolute best plugged in tone. And mine had a colorway as well. All right, but I just decided it was too big. And if I'm playing, yeah, mine was a cutaway like these ones. I decided it was too big, and I wanted something that was more comfortable to play on stage. So that's why I got the Angel 2. This one here, which was noticeably more comfortable, and it's just been a great workhorse for me. This is like mine. In fact, it almost looks exactly like mine. So yeah, mine's a bit darker on the top. So this I just found more comfortable. Didn't sound quite as good plugged in, but again, we're talking 3%, 2%, like you have to A/B them with headphones to hear that difference. And then what you gain was a slight reduction in weight, it's slightly more comfortable to play on stage. So that's been my go-to guitar for 14 months. Been paying the bills, and it's just absolutely incredible. And you can get these in different wood combinations. The Blackwood is the stiffest, and therefore what they recommend for playing on stage. But you can get redwood, spruce, and rosewood. You can get different woods depending on what you want. So then, as I said earlier, they then brought out, well, there's also a Mini, the LL Mini, the little lady Mini, but they actually sound huge for their size. but if I don't know, they're not that much smaller than a thin line, say. So I don't know, I'm not sure. The thin line is this one, which is the same body shape. Someone said about the neck. The neck is really good. The neck is really good. It's very comfortable. Not too thin, not too fat. So here's the thin line here. And then actually, yeah, I didn't mention this either. You can also get any of these guitars with a humbucker. So you could get an Angel with a humbucker, the FL with a humbucker, the thin line with a humbucker. You haven't got to go all in on the hybrid. So this is the thin line. This is probably the best stage guitar you can get and couch guitar you can get. You could get the thin line with the humbucker only if you want to just do some sort of distorted tones, some like rocky distorted tones, and you still have your sound hole. Now, when I have tried the guitars with the humbucker, they are stiffening the tops. They do lose a bit of their acoustic sound, and I think they don't sound quite as good plugged in as the non pickup ones. So if you don't want if you don't want the electric stuff, I definitely wouldn't get it. It adds more weight. It does add that extra complexity if you're not into that. It is, you know, it's kind of cool, I think, because it's like a spare pickup system in your guitar in case the other one breaks for some reason. But I would, if you're not interested at all in electric, I wouldn't get the electric pickup. I would just get the straight up thin line. It's going to be lighter on stage and everything else. And then you find you've got the the true hybrid here. So you lose the sound hole. You've got a little tiny sound hole at the top. It's got much less acoustic sound, which is obviously better if you're doing distortion sounds. It's not going to feed back as much. It's got a pick guard. The other ones have a pick guard. So, I mean, there's just a huge range. You just get whatever you want. You can... People make me mad with these guitars because they just throw them all into the same pot and say, well, they don't sound very good and they're just like, they're for people like Jack Johnson. That's so stupid because it makes me really mad because that's like they just make one guitar. Cole Clark have the travel guitar, the Angel guitar, the FL guitar, the thin line guitar, the true hybrid guitar, every guitar with or without the humbucker, Blackwood, so Blackwood back and sides, Blackwood top, Redwood, Spruce. Like there's like 50 SKUs right there of guitars, and they all sound very different. I mean, it's just people say stuff on forums. I just don't understand. They just blurt stuff out like that. They haven't even played them. Kind of crazy. So yeah, I mean, do they boom like a Martin? No. If you like that kind of boomy Martin sound, I haven't yet played one that sounds like that, but they do have they have a good sound. They have a tighter sound, more modern sound, and not in a Taylor kind of way, in a very nice kind of way. And actually, it's over the 12 months I've gigged my guitar, I have actually. It's funny, I've kind of grown to like that sound. I also think that's another thing. You can kind of your ears get used to something. But then again, I plug in pretty much 90% of the time anyway, so I don't really care about the acoustic sound. And that's why my plan going forward is just to like keep my best 3 Martins and then have a couple of Cole Clarks for what I actually do. So yeah, wow, this has turned into an hour of Cole Clark. So I guess I'll label the video as a Cole Clark demo. No, I'm not going to. I'm going to leave this as the Q&A. I'm going to make a dedicated video to the guitar because I think there's a lot of people on Facebook in these groups for solo musicians talking about how to enhance their solo gigs. I think if I put a demo of that going through the acoustic, the electric, and the hybrid sounds, they're going to eat that up. So I'm going to wait and put that up as its own video and make sure I mute the microphone when I do it. Yeah, the neck it's not too thick, it's not too thin. It's really, really nice. And they use a Plek machine on the frets. The HH is on Thomann, 5 to 7 weeks for the HSS. Oh, they've got an HH on there. That's cool. 3,600. Yeah, they're around 3,500 US dollars. But you can get a thin line Cole Clark for just under $2,000. So you are paying a lot more for the true hybrid guitar. But I guess the argument is, if you want one guitar to tour with that does both things, Your only other option is to get the thin line at $2,000 and a Strat for $2,000 or more. You're then $4,000 in, and you're gonna have to switch guitars on stage. The thing about paying the $3,500 for the true hybrid is that you've got everything in one guitar, which you're paying for that convenience, aren't you? Rexomatic is going on a cross-country road trip and taking the Rain song. Very cool. You can leave that in the car for the whole trip. Just make sure you lock the car. 4,000 Canadian. Well, everything's more expensive Canadian, isn't it? But you have to shop around as well. Like, you can find, for example, you can find a Cole Clark. I've seen it all the time. You can see one priced at $2,300 American, and you can get it actually for like $1,900. So if you shop around, you can get one. Also, if you find one used, the used market value on a Cole Clark in America, in my experience, is not very good. So you can get a used Cole Clark at a drastically reduced price. Chris Sean says, I think the pickup system on the FG5X sounds quite good. Just as good as the Anthem, if not better. Not a hybrid guitar, but speaking of great sound acoustic pickups, I really like... So that's interesting. You know what Yamaha did with the... That's the Red Label guitar, right? You're talking about? They basically copied... in my opinion, they basically copied the Cole Clark system. The Cole Clark system is an undersaddle, and then a body sensor for mid-range, and a mic for high-end, like the 3 parts of a PA system. The Yamaha version is the undersaddle for the lower, same, the bass, the mic for the mid-range, and the body sensor for the high-end, which is an interesting way of doing it. And you're right, it does sound really good. The thing is, I've reviewed that on the channel. It doesn't give you the flexibility. So you've only got like a bass cut, a volume, and a mic blend. You don't have the EQ. With a Cole Clark, you get bass, middle, treble EQ, contour button, volume, face and undersaddle blend, and mic blend. So I find the Cole Clark is much easier for me to dial in than the Yamaha. The Yamaha is a very good system. You know, you can plug it in, you can go, you get a very solid sound. I did use it once with the VoicePrint DI and got an incredible sound because it just took some of the edges. It's a bit... The Yamaha one is a little bit brittle for me. And I think it's because they use like their own thin undersaddle pickup, where the Cole Clark uses a bigger pickup like the Takamine guitars do. So I don't think... I think the Yamaha is up there for the factory installed systems. I think it's a very good one. I think that's I think what they did was very cool, innovative. I don't understand why companies like Martin don't do that as well. Like, look at what's on the market that's good, like the Cole Clark system, and make their version of it. Why would you not do that? Seems crazy to me. So, and also the Yamaha Red Label guitars are very affordable. They're very good guitars in their own right. But having said all that, the Cole Clark as a plug-in guitar still is my absolute. I mean, I just I've reviewed all these pickups, and the Cole Clark is the one that just works for me the best. Again, with the newest version of the preamp, which only came out 2 years ago. What's the pick? A Jazz 3, and do you use them for everything? Yeah, I do. I use them for everything I do. I love them. That's the one thing in life that I've settled on that I don't need to mess around with is the pick. That does everything. It's amazing. Jazz 3 XL. And I don't even play jazz. Isn't that crazy? Oh, 4,000 Canadian is 3,000 US dollars. Nice. The only thing is, though, you've then got to ship it into America. And I've done that before, and that's added some additional expense. I would wait and see. I was hoping that Sweetwater would pick up on Cole Clark. There are a couple of very, very good dealers. Pitbull Audio are a really good dealer. But they just out on Groon, but they just don't have any Cole Clarks in stock. I feel like they're not being shipped here for some reason. even though Cole Clark now has an American dealer, distributor. I don't know what's going on, but they got all these amazing models, and if they were only here, that would be great. Divided by Time, how you doing? I'll come to your question 1 second. I'm very excited. I got this thing come through on here. Let me 1 second. I just want to hear this, and I'll play it to you if it sounds good. How do I hear it? Okay, downloading. Right, 1 second. Just gonna mute the microphone. I can't figure it out. That's need to do it on the computer. Anyway, Divided by Time says 2 questions. How do you feel about rosewood versus ebony? And do you feel there's a certain type of or brand of guitar that handles alternate tuning? Good question. Rosewood versus ebony, you mean on the fretboards? Oh. Rosewood versus ebony on the fretboard. Well, that's an interesting question because Cole Clark used this she oak fretboard stuff, and on my gigging guitar, it's kind of rough and shows the dirt easily, and I don't like that. Then I thought about it and thought, well, you can't feel it when you're playing anyway. It's more of a cosmetic thing. The guitar behind me also has the same she oak wood. And it's dark and oily and lovely. It's like ebony. It's not exactly the same, but similar, more similar to ebony than the other guitar. And that's the same wood. It's just a different cut or whatever. I don't know. It's crazy to me. They're completely different. One feels rough and rugged. The other one feels like oily and smooth and slick. It's so weird. So that even within one kind of wood, you get those variations. So I don't really care. I like ebony a lot because I like how smooth and how that looks. Then again, do we like dark streaked ebony? That's the other problem. Like all the ebony now is shipping with these streaks in it. Martin used to dye their ebony. They stopped dyeing it. Do you like, is that again cosmetically? Do you like the look of that? I think I prefer the look of the she oak behind me to a striped ebony. Sound-wise, people say they hear a difference in tone. I don't think I do. Builders tell me there is a difference. I haven't done enough comparisons to know that. So I don't really have a preference. I think my preference is the uniform look of all black fretboard, whether it's she oak or ebony. That's what I like. That's what I like. And again, that's what I'm used to over the years. So maybe that's why. But I certainly don't want the fretboard to have any like rough spots. But then again, like I said, it's not like you actually feel the fretboard while you're playing the guitar. You feel the frets, right? Not the fretboard. But that's just my preference based on what I'm used to over the years and you know, cosmetically. And do you feel there's a certain brand of guitar that handles alternate tuning? You see, that's a similar thing. I've had a guitar, a wood guitar, a few months ago. I think it was the Cole Clark that I gigged with. When I was on the channel, when I bent the string, the B string went flat. And when I tune a D down, and it makes the A go flat. So I put locking tuners on it, and it made it a lot better. Kind of fixed the problem, which was great. But what I've noticed with the new Cole Clark behind me is that those aren't the problem. So I don't think it was. I think it was something to do with the setup. So again, I don't mean to make this a convoluted answer, but I don't think with a lot of things, there's not a way to just like say buy this, this will do this. The only difference there is the. Oh, sorry, I'm all over the place today. The only difference there, the only thing there is the rain song, like the carbon fiber guitars. If you want a guitar that handles alternate tunings the best, carbon fiber, because the carbon fiber doesn't move. So I found that you can do retune the guitar and that won't move. It won't like drop the other strings out. With some wood guitars, when you change the pitch of one string, the other strings go out of tune. You may have noticed that sometimes if you break a string, the other strings go out of tune. But again, it doesn't happen on all wood guitars. It seems to be that. So don't forget, with wood guitars, they're all unique. They are all unique. The trees are different. The wood is different. The setups are never identical. They're not done by robots. They're done by people. So even if a guitar is made with a CNC machine and plecked at the factory, it's still like the saddle's still sanded by a person. The wood is all different. You cannot say that a certain guitar is better for alternate tunings than another, like brand-wise or model-wise. It's about that guitar. And some guitars just stay in tune perfectly, and some guitars do not. And some guitars need to settle in because they're new and they've just been made, and some do not. So these are all the things to bear in mind. It's more about that particular instrument than recommending you an actual model and brand of instrument. The only one I could do, like I said, is the carbon fiber guitars. I like rain song guitars. Any carbon fiber guitar is most likely going to be more stable with tuning than a wood guitar. But with wood guitars, it really depends on that guitar. Let me know in the chat if you agree with that or not. You may do, you may not. But that's been my experience. So I've had again the cold clock behind me. I've been bending on it. I've been pulling the strings. I've been doing alternate tunings, and everything stays in tune where it was. And then on my gigging guitar, I was on here a few months ago, bending the B string, kept going flat, went flat, went flat. That was probably the nut. Now I think about it, because I had some work done on the nut. I bet the nut wasn't cut right, and it was grabbing the string or something like that. Maybe not. Or a bad tuner. Maybe just a bad tuner on that guitar. Because then I put locking tuners on it, which are on there now. They're great. They weigh the same. And they kept the tuning much better. So, who knows? It's not as... I guess that's the long answer divided by time. I can't just say certain guitars. You can put locking tuners on an acoustic. They are a cool thing. And they don't weigh more than the standard tuners, I've found. So a really good acoustic with locking tuners, stretch the strings in, then it'll hold tune really well. But the carbon guitars generally are the best for not move. They don't move. They still go out of tune, by the way, but the body doesn't move because it's carbon fiber. Oh, we got a follow-up. Good. I have a Gibson J45, which I love in standard tuning with capos. I have a Gibson J45. I love in standard tuning with capos. And when just drop D tuning, it feels like a shift and throws the feel off. Yeah, when you drop the D string, when you drop the low E to a D, you're putting less tension on the neck of the guitar. It's going to feel different for sure. The other thing that can happen is it can make the other strings go out of tune because that tension is changing. They can lose their pitch. So you have to tune everything. When you tune the E down to a D, you then have to tune the other strings as well. Make sure they haven't gone out of tune. That can be really annoying. So I understand what you're saying. And that's interesting because I've been doing a lot of drop D myself lately. I've been doing a trio of songs back to back in drop D. And I find that too. I tune down for the D and you can get rattle. But that's the thing. You've got to think about your setup. If your setup is set up for standard tuning and you drop the low E, you can then start to get some string rattle because that low string isn't set for that. If you really want to play in alternate tunings, you should have a guitar for playing in alternate tunings because you could have the action raised on that guitar to compensate for the fact that you've lowered the low E string. So if I was touring, I would have either a very stable wood guitar or a carbon guitar, and I'd have it set up, the action set up for the fact that the E is dropped down to a D, and everything's a bit looser to compensate, and it wouldn't rattle as much because the action would be higher. That would be the absolutely ideal scenario. If you want to just do the odd song, if you don't want to go down that route because it's too extravagant, and you just want to do the odd song in drop D, then you have to just bear that in mind. How is the guitar? How are the tuners? How is the action? That's all going to affect things when you start messing with the tunings. So a bit of a compromise there, I think. A bit of a compromise. Peter, good to see you, buddy. Yeah, so let me just sum that up. If I was playing in drop D all the time, I'd buy a guitar and set it up just for drop D, probably a carbon guitar, if not a great stable wood guitar. If you're just going to use your regular guitar to do it, just bear in mind that when you drop the D, you might get rattled if you've got a low action. So you might want to put the whole action up a little bit to compensate for that. But then again, do you want to do that just for one song or just live with the rattle? I think I would just live with the rattle at that point. And bear in mind, when you drop that down, your other strings might go out of tune. You can try a set of locking tuners on acoustic. That will definitely help. But some guitars just are not as stable as others, in my experience. That's actually a very recent experience I've had. So it's funny you asked me that. Chris. Yeah, I really, I don't bond with Yamaha acoustic guitars, but I will say this, they are the best value, the best sounding acoustic, and the best sounding electric in one, as in one package. For value, unplugged sound and plugged in sound, that model you mentioned, the FG, the red label guitars, is probably my number one. I don't say best or whatever, but if I had to write a list for someone to recommend them, I would put that at the top of that list. As an all-rounder, it's amazing. And for the value, it's amazing. Plugged in sound, I still think the Cole Clark is up there for plugged in sound. A really great Martin, find the right Martin, is probably there for just pure acoustic sound. But there you go. The problem you get is when you try to find something that does it all. Well, the red label does it all, but I don't particularly want to play that guitar on stage, right? So it's a great thing to consider for sure. But what I'm doing now is I am using stage guitars for stage, and then I have my guitars to play unplugged with no pickup at home, and that just satisfies my brain the best way, rather than trying to find an acoustic that I can plug in and does the best of both. I'm trying to keep them separate now. That just seems to work, be the best option for me, and it just seems to work for me. So I think it's an option that people should consider as well. And then the irony of that is I play the stage guitars so much that I end up just going to them all the time anyway, because that's what I get used to. You get used to an instrument. That's a big thing, You get someone that's a diehard Gibson fan, and you hand them a Maton or something, or Acoustasonic, they're just going to go, nope, not for me, because they're so used to that, so used to it all the time, that it's a complete shock to their system. But I think if you just would sit with something and use something for at least a few months, you can then start to grow into it. I don't mean in a forced kind of, I don't mean in a bad way, like you're forcing yourself to like it. I just mean sometimes you get so used to something that you compare other things to that thing. It's certainly been my experience. Kevin, this is a great conversation. I've swapped strings lately, so I'll tell you about that. Yeah, I've been using the Dario XS Phosphor Bronze, getting ready to put Elixir Nano Phosphor Bronze. It came, the version of Dario heavier coating. Oh, you have the Cole Clark, right? So Cole Clark recently switched, and Taylor as well, recently switched from Elixirs to the Dario coated strings, the XS. And I don't know if that's, I guess there's some financial reasons there, but I happened to do it at the same time. It wasn't related to this. I happened to do the same thing. I was using Elixirs on the Rain Song and the Cole Clark because that's what they ship with, and I wanted them to last as long as they could. I got a set of strings from This isn't a secret. They didn't make me sign anything. They were just sending out some sets of strings a few months ago from Elixir to try, and I absolutely loved them. And I emailed them. I said, look, I want to talk about these on my channel. I want to use these strings. They're just like Elixirs, but better somehow. I really want these strings. And they never released them. And around that time, I'd heard about the XS strings being used by other companies, like Cole Clark, so I decided to try them. And I just liked them as well. I don't think I like them as much as the Elixir strings, but they're just nice. I really don't like them for the first hour or two. Once I've played them for like an hour or two, then I really like the feel. I really like the sound. They don't seem to fray like the Elixirs do. I mean, it doesn't matter, but it's a bit ugly on the strings. So yeah, I'm now using the Dario XS Phosphor Bronze like you 12s on my gigging guitar and on the Rain Song. And the only other exception I make to that is on my Martins that I have, I still put Martin strings on them. I do think they sound good. But I might try the Dario XS on the Martins as well. I haven't tried them yet, just so I never have everything the same, you know. But you're talking about switching. I mean, by all means, try it, but I would not personally. In the current lineup of strings from those companies, I really like the Dario XS strings. And the other thing to bear in mind is this is very small and minor, probably too minor to even worry about. But since Cole Clark installed the Dario XS strings on the guitars and Plek the guitars at the factory, remember that guitar is set up for those exact strings. So if there's a slight difference to the Elixirs, it might be enough to throw something off. So that's another good reason to use them. But I do really like them, and I've got no reason to change now. I'm going to keep using them. That's what's on that hybrid guitar as well. I think they're great. Divided says, I was looking at a Martin, but the ebony is out of my familiarity. Probably a mind trick. Yeah, I just like when Martin stained the fretboards to be black, all black, and not have the streaks. But there we go. That's some people like the streaks. I mean, the Cole Clark body has a lot of streaks on them. They have a very unique look to them, and the bridges and things. I get it. We can't be too fussy with wood. I just never understood why they stopped dyeing them. If they were dyeing them, maybe it's because on some fretboards they're too streaky and you can't dye them. So they decided to use that wood, which I do agree with. And a lot of people like that. But if you want one that isn't like that, you have to do like a custom shop order or look on the photographs. That's what I've been doing. Like, I do it a lot anyway, just for research. So like, I'll just type in a standard Martin like OM28 on Sweetwater, because I have these pictures on here, and I'll go on. First of all, I like to see what the stock is like, because a year ago you couldn't buy any standard Martin from anyone, and now they have 4. So it just shows how the industry has changed in the last 12 months. And then what I do is I go in and look at the fretboard. Now this is really interesting. You see, this hat, if you look closely here, you might not be able to see it, but there is a slight line on that fretboard. But that fretboard is very dark compared to what we've seen in the past. And then I try another one. Yeah, that is a dark board. So that makes me think, here's the thing, right? Martin haven't made any comment about this, which is a bit annoying, but that board is either an incredibly uniform dark piece of ebony, or they've stained it, or it's from a pile of stained necks they had lying around they found in the back of the warehouse, which is probably more likely. But I really like that. So this is a good time to buy a guitar, because they've got lots in stock, and they've got the ones with the dark board. And you might say, have they switched back? I almost made a video about it. But they haven't switched back. There's still guitars that don't have that. But I'm glad that there are some around that do have it. And I don't know, maybe they have switched back. Maybe their customers didn't like it, because they are so used to that look. I don't know. I'm not sure. I am not sure. But I'd certainly like that a lot. That's what I would choose. Interesting. And you can do that. I do this most nights. I come on here and look at what's available and what's going on with the stock and everything. And even so, here's a D28 See, they got 3 of these. There we go. So that's, look under my face. That's got the streaks there on that one. Okay, that one's got streaks on it. This one has a streak right at, there we go. No, okay, that's obvious, right? So I don't know what's going on. I wish I did know. Are they dyeing the boards again? Are they dyeing some boards? Which is possible, right? I don't know. But that's why it's important to see what the guitars look like. And like I said, on a Cole Clark, the whole body can be streaky. All the wood they use is very unique, and I'm okay with that. That's what it is. But with these ones, I don't know. I think it's my age. I'm not used to that look. But maybe some people like that look. So anyway, I don't know the answer to that. Have I still got the Gallagher guitar? Yes, I do. I don't play it very often. I don't know if I'll keep it long term, to be honest with you, but I still have it, yeah. Ontario is listing the Thin Line 2 BL for August 17th. Oh, okay. 4,700 Canadian. That's good. That's too much for a Thin Line. The Thin Line is retails in America for about 23, I think, list price. Would a guitar with firmer tone woods be better for alternate tunings? Would a wider neck be better? It might handle difference with strain. Again, from what I've experienced this year, it's all about the guitar. So my Cole Clark, the Angel I have, is all black wood and is a pretty strong guitar. And yet that thing wasn't keeping in tune until I changed the tuners on it. I think that's more of a setup thing. Yeah, that's a good point. The setup of the guitar, it doesn't matter what the guitar's made from. If the setup isn't good, it's going to go out of tune. That's the first thing. Obviously, those other factors will help as well. But even the carbon fiber guitar can go out of tune if there's a problem with the nuts and the tuners, right? So bear that in mind as well. Having a really good, I would say a plec setup of your guitar. So yeah, I put more emphasis on that, like a really good guitar with a really good setup done by a really good luthier, maybe plecked. Like Sweetwater will do a plec for you and set it up. That stuff for me is more important than everything else. But having said that, you're right. The stiff woods or the carbon fiber body is going to move less when the weather changes and therefore going to help you as well. So yeah. But sometimes a guitar just stays in tune better than the other one does. I noticed Martin OM went to a thinner oval neck. The one I played the other day had a V-neck. I can't do V-necks. I'm glad to see options for sure. They went to that neck a long time ago. You know, the V-neck is interesting because I still have the OM, the Triple O Authentic, Martin. I'm definitely going to sell that at some point. I love the look. I love the vibe of it. I love the neck, and that's a V-neck, and I love the neck. So again, that's the problem with this YouTube stuff, right? You can't just really say you like something or you don't, because I've played so many V-neck guitars that I hated, and then the V-neck on that guitar is out of this world, because there's V's and there's V's, right? There's a deep V and a shallow V. Now I get what you're saying. Oh, if you said to me, well, which do you prefer? I need to know. I would say the non-V, because in general I do, but there is occasionally that guitar you play where they get it just right, and that guitar has that. The only thing with that guitar is when I play it, being that it's a Triple O and a vintage style guitar, it has this really cool, like mid-rangey bluesy type sound. So if you're playing fingerstyle or blues like Clapton stuff, it'd be amazing, and that's really who it's for, a Triple O 28, right? But when I strum on it like I do with my heavy Jazz 3 pick, it just doesn't fill the room in the way that even a standard OM would do, and so it seems pointless for me to keep it. It's not my bag, right? Not my vibe, but an amazing guitar. And if it did have that sound, I would keep it probably as my only guitar. It's only Martin guitar. It's amazing. But sometimes something like that can just make a big difference. And sometimes that sound just isn't for you. It's not good or bad. It's just not the sound that you're looking for. Now, like I said, if you play it for 6 months exclusively, you might grow into that sound. That's the thing. But yeah, but my point with that guitar really was that the neck is actually amazing, really amazing. I wish I could show it to you in person. Yeah, you're right. Martin said that the Dark Ebony was being kept for high-end guitars. Right, but something happened 3 months ago, because suddenly I started seeing guitars with the dark board, and I checked, and they are stained. So this is what happened. Either, and I don't know the answer. I'd go and bet no one even that Martin would even tell me, but either they found some necks they hadn't yet used, some fretboards they hadn't yet used, and that were stained, and put them into production. That's possible. Or a lot of people didn't like it, like I don't like it, and they said, okay, we better stain the ones that we can still stain, and they put those back into the lineup. That's very possible. Or they've switched back completely and are now staining fretboards. I don't think that's likely. I don't think they've backtracked. I mean, they have backtracked on some stuff, but I don't think they'll backtrack on that. So I think the ones that can be stained are being stained to give those options. Because like on Sweetwater, you can see the pictures. You can see. The problem is, I bet some people order a guitar from Guitar Center where there's no pictures and they just send it back. Like I said, with the Cole Clarks, I'm okay with that stuff because it's just you expect it. With the Cole Clark, you expect to get a completely random looking guitar. That's what it is. And that's fine. I like it. With a Martin, I think you expect to get a very traditional, uniformed looking guitar. And if you don't, and you're not expecting that, you might see that as a defect. I know I'm not saying that I agree with that. I don't. Wood is wood and wood is precious. But that's what happens. So I wonder, I just don't know. I'm glad there are some. I'm glad that there's websites with the great photographs like Sweetwater have. They have the weight and I think the weight is important too. They show you the weight and they show you the fretboard and the pick guard and everything, and you can decide which one you want, and then you get that one. And then you just got to hope that it has the sound that you want, because all these guitars sound so different as well. I was just playing 2 guitars last week. They sound completely different to me. That can be due to the action, the setup, but there we go. You walk into a guitar store and play 2 guitars. You're not going to get your tools out and set them up to be the same, right? So to most people, 2 guitars will sound different, whether that's the wood, the setup, or a combination of those things. So, yeah, I find it interesting. I wish I knew the answer, because it drives me a little bit crazy to not know. But at least we can now get, at least those guitars are available, is what I want to say, because that makes me happy. For those that want that, you know. And then the custom shops still have the dyed fretboards and stained fretboards. And then obviously the really high-end guitars, you can probably request a certain piece of ebony or something. I don't know how that works, but I get it. They're making so many guitars at Martin. The thing is, it looks like they're making less guitars now, so maybe that would even out. I don't know. Like I said, it blows my mind that 6 months ago you couldn't buy a single standard series Martin, and now every model of guitar they have at least 4 guitars. Look, and I bet they have more in the warehouse. This is just what they put on the website. They don't put them all on the website. They put 4 at a time. So I bet they've got more at the back as well, so to speak. But there you go, look, lovely dark board, slight patch there, slight patch, but only a little bit. This one, dark fretboard. I mean, that's a great guitar, you see. £4, 8 ounces, and you've got that lovely dark fretboard. There you go. That's what you do. You get that one. Check out another one. This one's only £4.7. So it's 2 ounces lighter than the other one, which is pretty cool. I love these pictures. Love you can see how. Oh, that's the other thing, by the way. They've changed their font inside there. This is a new modern font they're using, and someone pointed out to me that the model number is not lined up with the logo, which I think is really bad. Look at that. Look at the established 1833. And look at the HD28. They're not centered. It's not centered. I don't get it. There must be a reason that I'm overlooking, but there we go. This one is a bit, yeah. You can see that This is pretty cool because you can see this isn't stained because you can see some of the streak there on the bottom of the neck. But the good thing is there's no stain on there that will come off over time. And by the way, they use stain for years. It's not a new. It wasn't a new thing. But at least there's no stain on there. Well, it'll always look the same. It won't come off over the years, right? So maybe you want one like that. Well, you can make the choice now. You can choose which one to get. But it's really crazy how many are in stock now, and it's a good thing because we were all worried that it was all gonna end, right, and not be able to buy guitars anymore. The D35 is back ordered, so there we go. Not everything is available. I stand corrected. M36, they got 3 of them. And the D8, yeah, see, these boards are all dark. They all look stained. And the D18, yep, 4 D18s. So, if anyone knows the answer, please let me know, because that does bother me a little bit that I don't know these things. But again, look, very nice looking fretboards here. Don't like that pick guard so much. I always look at the pick guard and the fretboard, but yeah, look, that one. I don't think that's stained, but I mean, it looks very uniform. So I don't know. It could be. Not sure. The D18s are so light as well, aren't they? This one's 3 pounds 15 ounces. It's crazy. All right, let me come here and wrap things up. So, looks like that's the last question for the day. My nose is getting itchy because of the AC. Always makes my nose itchy. So thanks for joining me. If you're new here, subscribe and ring the bell. And I am Amir. Not that it's a game or a race or a competition, but I am only 65 subscribers from 15,000. That is a bit of a milestone for me. So I'm hoping that I hit that either next week or the week after. 2 weeks time I won't be here because I have a gig, and also I think I'm going to be meeting up with some people. So hopefully I'll hit 15k next week. We shall see. I will be on. Just to clarify, I will be on next week. Yeah, next Monday. So if you're new, subscribe and ring the bell. I really would appreciate it. That will help me out. And I do have some news and things, but like I said, I've stopped saying what I do now and promising things with everything in life, actually, because I realized when I put that pressure on me, I don't do it. So you notice that last week I posted a video. Once I finished the stream, I decided to make a video and I posted it. I'll probably do the same thing today because I'm all set up, ready to go. But yeah, I have loads of cool stuff to show. I just don't want to show it all at once, and I don't want to say I'll do something one week and then not do it because I had too many gigs. This week I am gigging Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 5 in a row. So I don't want to put that extra pressure on myself. But I do appreciate you joining me. I find this all very fun. Thank you for letting me know what you think of the hybrid. I'm going to make a proper video of the hybrid, whereas you see, that's exactly why I don't like to demo stuff. When I did the second half of the demo of the hybrid guitar earlier, I didn't mute the microphone and it messed with the sound. I want to make the demo and review of that guitar and make sure that it's sounding how it should be in order to best represent itself to the audience. So that's why I don't really do it. But I did it this week. It was fun. I hope you liked it. T said, with environmental issues, would they go back to stain them? I'd say you're right with they found a load of stain necks. Then again, it's all about the sales. I couldn't work out why the OM and AAA were considered high-end. Well, they're not. Standard series are not. Even I don't think even the modern deluxe guitars are stained, are they? And I would say they're pretty high-end. Because I mean, what is high-end though, right? When they say high-end, they mean custom shop and like signature models. That's what they mean. $4,000 type guitars. Oh, cheers, David. I appreciate. Yeah. I've seen some demos, and like I said, they've had that mic bleed and stuff, and they haven't dialed it in. Also, if you watch a demo where you plug it into a cheap processor, it's not going to give it the same value as if you play it through a really nice amplifier and mic it up, right? That's going to add to it too. So I'm gonna work on that. I might do that when I sign off. Again, I don't like to promise things, but I'd like to do a demo of that guitar, just to each of the sounds, just to start with, just to like put around the internet to show people what it's capable of. Michael, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Rosanna says, have a great week. Looking forward to it. Me too, Rosanna. Oh, OM42. Okay, well, before we go, you've got me curious now. I can't log off without I'm checking this, so let's see. Let's see if there's any OM42s. I don't know that there aren't any. I don't often see OM42s and D42s around. Oh, no. So you're right. I know the answer to this. You're right. You're right. The 40 series is high-end. Yes. The 40 series is high-end. So your D45, your D42, your D41 are going to have the dark ebony. Now, are they going to be stained or are they going to be pure pieces they've found? We actually have two D45s in stock here right now, so I can show you that. So look, this is the question I'd like to know the answer to. This is a $10,000 factory-made guitar, right? Is that ebony there? It's all uniform black, right? It's dark. There's no streaks. Is that dyed, or is that a piece they've found that has no streaks in it? And the way you can test that is to get a bit of tissue paper, slightly wet it, and rub it on there. And if you get black on the tissue, that means that they've dyed it, stained it. I don't know. I'd like to think they didn't, but then again, I don't mind them doing that. I think it looks great. I think that's a look that I like. So it's a mystery. I don't know the answer, and based on other questions I've asked Martin in the past, I don't think I'll get a straight answer, or they'd tell me. Maybe someone there would if I could think of the right person to ask. But I would like to know, because I'd like to be able to recommend to people, if it is a case they just found a pile of necks that have been stained, I'd like to be able to tell people you should buy a guitar now while that's available, while that's an option, because maybe you want that, right? But yeah, I mean, this is, like I said, a $10,000 guitar. It's got the new font as well. Is that new font? No, that's the old font. That's the old looking font. Sorry, that's an older guitar, but that looks awesome. But you know, that's with tax. That's well over $10,000. So I'm pretty sure those guitars don't sell as quick. Haven't played the Street Legends, not particularly interested the way they're printing the finish on them, but people say they like them. Same with the satin finish. I'd rather... It's funny because my Cole Clark is satin, but I kind of want my Martin to be glossy, you know? I just want to check this font again. Yeah, that's the new... See, I don't like that new font. That new font looks childish to me, and it's not lined up. It's not in line with the logo, with the EST 1833. It's too far. It looks like it's too far to the left. So that's the new font in the new guitars. I don't. It looks. I mean, it doesn't matter, right? You don't look at it. You don't sit there and look in there. But I wonder why they changed it. Also, I've seen some of the headstocks have been changed as well. Some of these logos look more like this, rather than just being printed, screen printed on, they look like they've got the outline as if they've been stuck on with a sticker. They're not stuck on with a sticker, but they've got that kind of extra outline around them. I noticed that too recently. So these are all things I'd like to know. Why are these things being changed? Is this a cost thing? Is this a production thing? I'd love to know, but I don't know yet. So, yes, Danielle, you're right. OM42 is considered high-end, as is D41, D42, and D45. Anything custom, anything artist signature. Yes. Yes, that is what high-end is, yeah. Are Martin prices coming down? I don't know. There are some companies that are lowering prices. I don't think they will. I think what happened was when they just had a price increase last week on some models, like the Modern Deluxes went up in price. They didn't put the price up on the standard series. I think they wanted to. I think they didn't do it because the way the sales have slowed down. But I don't think for a second they're going to lower the prices. I think they'll just keep those standard series prices what they are. And Michael's saying about the D18. This is a D18 Modern Deluxe. These are now 3,800. I don't love the look of the top piece of wood, but the fretboard is, again, look, looks stained, doesn't it? What's going on? New font inside. And yeah, I don't know. But you know, I say all that. I also want to say wood is wood. No wood guitar is perfect unless it's made for you as a one-off by a shop that has one person working at it. These are all made in a big factory. There's always going to be something you don't like. What matters the most with these things is how do they sound? How do they play? And I'd say the sound is definitely the most important thing. But yeah, the playability has to be comfortable to play. Like the neck and the weight and everything. And then the sound has to be the sound that you are looking for, of course. I'm getting into the nitty-gritty here. That doesn't really matter. I just like to know the reasoning behind it all. All right, everyone. I'm going to log off. It's been a long stream. Have a great week. Subscribe and ring the bell if you're new here. And I'll see you in a video soon. Michael said the one I played wasn't that bright seeming. I think the one I played had a yellow top. Yeah, well, again, you don't know. When you try a guitar, get them to put new strings on it, because the strings can completely change. Like the strings you use, how new they are, the room you play in, all these things affect things. That's why it's good to get a guitar at home, play it in for a while, and then compare it in your apartment, you're in your home, to the guitar you're A-Bing it to. There's so many factors in all this stuff, which is why we can make so many videos about all this stuff, right? All right, I'm going to go. Take care and be well. I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me. It's been fun as always, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
I'm not lost, but I'm not